Folks, welcome to Junkyard Theory, and tonight's guest is none other than the amazing Alain Moussi. I'm pretty sure everybody's like seen him most recently in Nobody. He starred alongside Nicolas Cage in Jiu-Jitsu, and he is the star of the remake of the Kickboxer trilogy. I'm waiting for the third movie. I think you guys are heavy into pre-production,
We
but
are, yes.
Alan, thank you so much for joining us, and are you born?
Oh, are you one? Very nice to be here. Thanks for having me. It's awesome.
You're cool, man. Alan, I want to like start off with your background. Like, how did you get into martial arts and then eventually into filmmaking?
Wow. So martial arts first. As a kid, I was always a fan of action movies, and I remember one day I was at my friend's house, and he said, "Hey, let's watch Bloodsport," and which I had never seen, and I didn't even I had no idea what that was. So when he
Mhm.
told me Bloodsport, all I envision is blood. Like there's blood like there's blood. So I didn't even know what martial arts. There was a martial arts movie, but then we watched Bloodsport, and oh my god, I loved it. It was obviously Van Damme, and yeah,
Mm.
the athleticism, the muscles, and the splits and the kicks and all that kind of stuff, right? So as soon I saw that, and I had to start training. So my mom took me to a jiu-jitsu club in Ottawa, and I started in
Mhm.
Japanese jiu-jitsu, and it just so happened that she was already training there. She was already a brown belt at the time, so she gave me my first introductory class, and I started training. Never looked back. I just became obsessed with martial arts movies, and kicking and doing the splits. That was it for me.
Van
And
Damme
then
was the man, right?
that listen, at the time I connected to Van Damme first. I mean, I
Hmm.
saw Bloodsport, Kickboxer, Double Impact. I mean, those were the first ones I saw. And
Yeah.
then I remember my dad introduced me to Bruce Lee movies. So we went right back to the old school because that's what he watched at the theater. My dad's Lebanese, and in Lebanon, he would go to the theater and watch Bruce Lee movies. That's what he loved. And it's really popular. Martial arts films in the Middle East are very popular.
Yeah.
So I mean, my dad just loved it. So he introduced me to Bruce Lee, all the Hong Kong movies, all the way to Enter the Dragon. And I fell in love with that. And then I had my Seagal phase, and then my Wesley Snipes phase, and I went through everything. I saw Richard Norton, Jim Cotta, yeah, all this stuff was just insane to me. It's funny though because I only discovered Jackie Chan later on. I didn't discover Jackie Chan right away. It's
Really?
a few years later that I have a friend that showed me Rumble in the Bronx, and when I saw Rumble in the Bronx, then I was obsessed with Jackie Chan stuff. It was awesome. So yeah, it just became I was always a martial arts movie fan. I just enjoy seeing movement. I enjoy seeing the hero beat up the bad guy. And in a physical way, it was always really cool because it's like you're not using guns and knives and like all that. It's very physical. It's one person versus another. It's very personal. So I was always a big fan of that concept. So yeah, I kept on training. I was always inspired by movies, and I trained in Japanese jiu-jitsu for a long time. Um, I mean, before I branched out was probably till I was 16, 17. So I started when I was 10. So for 6 years, I got my black belt in Japanese jiu-jitsu, and um, got interested in all kinds of stuff after that. When our instructor, Mr. Tarian, it was John Tarian that I was. He ran this international organization called World Kabuto, and we would have instructors from all over the world come and teach seminars for a weekend type thing. So you were exposed to karate and aikido and kung fu and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So at a very young age, I was exposed to a lot of different martial arts,
The
which
full spectrum.
yeah, and it was cool, because I really enjoyed exploring different types of movement. So yeah, so I got into a lot of different things. What I would do is actually, I remember this Aikido instructor, Kevin Block. He would always tell us at the beginning of the seminars, he would say, "Hey, I'm going to teach you some stuff today. It might not be, your thing, but I invite you to steal what you love and let go of everything else." And I was like, that stuck with me. So what I would do all the seminars, and I'd find one movement or one cool thing new that I'd learned, whether it was an Aikido, transition into a Kotegashi, or it was, a new kick, like a flash kick or whatever. I would learn it and then incorporate it into my jujitsu. Just not try to, I guess, take on the entire style, but I would take that one element and see how does it fit into my own personal puzzle. And that became really interesting to me, you know, because you just add one more tool to your bag of tricks. It's really cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's pretty much similar to Bruce Lee's philosophy as well. Take what is essential and discard what's not.
Absolutely. And that kind of like, as growing up in martial arts, I started doing that. And throughout my journey, I mean, I studied some Filipino martial arts with Guru Jun de Leon here in Canada. I did that for about 4 years on and off, because I really wanted to get to the root of Filipino martial arts, and he was just awesome. And I really want to understand the art. I did. And then I got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and kickboxing when I was 18 years old. And kickboxing was with Junkyard Theory, who was world champion at the time. And then I got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. And this was like when Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu just got popular. It was starting. There was blue belts in Ottawa, I think. That was the highest ranked person in Ottawa. And I was training under these blue belts that were there. And just pursued, I got obsessed with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu after that. The concept of me, you know, choking out a 6'6", 250-pound guy, which happened, I was like, I'm sold. This is like, I'm sold to this art because size does not matter. You know, I'm not a small guy by any means, but I was like, wow, like leverage. It's all about leverage, and it's about knowledge. It's about movement. You know, it was really interesting. So yeah, so I got really into that, and I just pursued any type of martial arts that would help me grow. That's exactly what it was. So I just wanted to grow. That's it.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And how did the transition to filmmaking or like movie start? Because you start watching movies and like it's all larger than life, and I'm pretty sure you had this somewhere at the back of your mind, like you want to be like Van Damme, you want to be like Bruce Lee. So
yeah.
How did that phase start?
So yeah, as a kid, obviously I wanted to be exactly like my heroes. My heroes were the martial arts stars, right? But I remember at a young age, I also had a thought that, you know, not only did I want to be like the characters that they play, but I remember, especially Van Damme, I was like, there's a guy, his name is Jean-Claude Van Damme, and he is paid to go and make movies. Like, this guy goes on a set, they shoot him, and we have a movie. So that's a job. And I could do that, possibly, you know? So then I wanted to really find out how I could do that. Fast forward years later, I got into martial arts. I opened my own school later on. I was into that because from Ottawa, as a smaller town, there's not a lot of production. How do you get into the film industry? I didn't really know how. And it's only when a friend of mine got me into stunts in Montreal. And he talked to me about stunt because he became a stuntman. And he told me about stunt work. And I'm like, oh my God, that's my way in. I'm not an actor, a professional actor. I do not have that type of training. However, I'm a lifelong martial artist. So it would make, and I know how to fall. I've been doing jiu-jitsu. So falling, taking hits, that kind of stuff, you know, I've done it. I've been beat up since I was a kid by my instructor. And I know break falls. So I feel like I have a lot of these tools that you need to do stunt work. So I was able to get in, and Immortals was my first gig. I doubled Henry Cavill in Immortals. And that became my stunt school. Jean Frenette is the martial artist that got me into it. He was our fight coordinator. And yeah, and then that's how I got in, and I was able to just absorb so much in those 6 months I worked on the show, especially because I was in such a great position. I mean, as a lead double, I was involved in all the prep. I was involved in the design. I was involved in performing nonstop. I was also there to train actors. My teaching background actually helped me a lot for that. I was very grateful because I was able to go in and I already knew how to break things down and to teach. So I was there teaching actors, and I was also exposed to many other stunt coordinators that were working on the show. And often what happens is you get started, you might get a day or two, but it takes time for you to be exposed to the right people and to work consistently,
100%.
You know? So I was very fortunate because I was able to showcase my skills to so many stunt coordinators in this first 6 months. So that helped me get my next job and my next job and my next one. And then all of a sudden I was working consistently as a stuntman, like right off the bat, which was great. You know, I was kind of living my dream at this point because I was now making movies. So I was really happy to do stunt work. I got into acting classes because obviously I was still interested in acting. But again, it's like I auditioned for little roles and things like that, but I didn't know, you know, how do I have to move to LA, and what do I have to do at this point if I want to pursue that move, right? It's only when in 2011 I happened to be working with our team on this martial arts film in Montreal, and I met Dimitri Logothetis. And Dimitri was the producer director. After a demonstration, what we would do, we would showcase all the fight scenes of the movie live for the producer and director. So we did that, and live, like we do a full like 5-minute fight scene live.
Oh, crazy!
No cuts. It's just go, no cuts. You know, and we performed that. My friend Max and I, and then I was involved in multiple fights with other stuntmen that were in the team.
Mm-hmm.
And after we were done, Dimitri came over, introduced himself, asked me a bunch of questions about my family, about my martial arts background, and in the end, cool. Well, great to meet you, and you were awesome. You know, great performance. And I'm like, cool, thanks. And it was really cool. I actually at that time, I was put up for a role, one of the fighter roles in this movie. Super happy about that. It was amazing. But they hadn't cast the lead yet, and it's only. And that it was, I think that night I got a call from casting, and the casting director, she's like, "Hey, Alain," and I had auditioned for her before. It's Andrea Kenyon in Montreal, and then anyways, she says, "Hey, so Dimitri wants you to audition for the lead," and I'm like, "What?" She said, "Yes, he wants you to audition for this, like the lead in this movie," and I'm like, "Holy shit, how?" Because I was like, it's a lead role. So I'm like, okay, cool. Yes, absolutely. I'm going to do it. So I prepped for 3 days with my friend Jason, and he helped me. He's an actor. He helped me. And then I went in there, and she gave me like an hour audition, like meaning she gave me a lot of takes to make sure we had the right take to present, you know, to put our best foot forward. She was very happy that somebody local was given an opportunity like this. And yeah, I did the audition. A day later, I got a call from Dimitri's assistant and setting a meeting. I meet Dimitri, and he's like, "Okay, well, I saw your audition." I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "So you're green. You're very green." And I'm like, "Okay." So already at this point, I'm like, "Okay, well, we're getting a meeting, so I feel like this is going in the right direction." I'm told that I'm very green. So now, is it really going in the right direction or not? I don't know. So and he says, "However, I think I can direct you, and you're an amazing martial artist. So, how do you feel about doing a couple of martial arts movies with me?" And I'm like, "Sign me up. I'm there. I will do whatever you say. I will follow you. You tell me what I got to do, and I will do it." And we started our journey together, and we ended up, our first movie together ended up being Kickboxer. And that's how I started acting in a lead role.
Amazing. Yeah. And what was that like? I mean, you grew up obviously watching Kickboxer, and you know, playing the lead role, taking over the role from Van Damme, playing Kurt Sloan, and then having Van Damme mentor you in the film itself.
I know.
How cool is that?
It's nuts. It's very serendipitous, I find. It's you know, it obviously, yeah, my favorite, and it's funny enough, my favorite Van Damme movie was Kickboxer. It wasn't Bloodsport. I actually preferred Kickboxer to Bloodsport.
Same.
And yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I thought I just enjoyed the movie in general, the philosophy in the movie. Like I don't know, I connected to Kickboxer more for some reason.
Yeah, it was pretty gritty and like pretty dark at the time too.
It was actually, it really was. And then
Tom Poe frightened me, man.
Absolutely. Oh my God. And I've met Michel Kisi, and he's the nicest guy in the world. It's hard to believe he was Tung Po. He's the nicest guy. It's crazy. But I was like that, like you. I was like, you know, Tung Po with a ponytail and there. And when he says like, "You bleed like my lead," you know, it's like, holy shit, who says that? That's crazy. It's just evil, you know. He was so evil. So I guess when Van Damme's beating him, you're so into it. It's like, yes, beat the asshole, you know. So I love Kickboxer. So when Dimitri told me he had Kickboxer, he bought the library. He bought the Kings Road library, and him and his business partners. So he told me about that. I told him, when you do Kickboxer, I want a shot at it. And he's like, "You will." But I still had to audition again. I had to audition for other producers. I had to prove myself, you know, in LA. So I went to LA, And I did a demo for Ted Field. I remember that, and I remember at the end of it, I had planned this move where I do a Webster, and at the time I was so rehearsed, like I was so practicing the Webster, and I would land it, I guess, 5 times out of 10 on my feet. The rest was on my butt, and I'm like, oh, fuck, it's gonna work. And it was at the end. We had a 1.5-minute fight, and the last move is the Webster, and I told my friend Max, I'm like, listen, if I look at you at the end, right before I do it, and I shake my head, I'm just going to do a side kick and you're going to fall down and that'll be it. But if I don't shake my head, if I do this, then that means I'm doing the Webster. And so he's like, but you're going to do it though. And I'm like, yeah, I'm most likely going to do the Webster, but I might throw the side kick if I don't feel good about it.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, whatever. So we go at it. And in this fight, there's punches, kicks, throws. I get slammed on the ground and picked up and all that kind of stuff. And we get to the end piece, and I look at him. I turn. It was like this. I'm like this. I look at him, and I go like this. He looks at me. He goes. I'm like, fuck. So I go, boom, Webster, whoop, and landed on my feet. And I was like, I landed. I surprised myself. I was like, in the moment I was out of the fight, I was only like, oh shit, I'm on my feet. I was like, just happy. And then Ted Field bounced up his chair and he's like, holy shit, that's Kickboxer. Yes. And then I was like, okay, good. We got it. And that was exactly what I wanted. And it worked out. And then he said, but can he act? And that's what he told Dimitri. And I'm like, oh God. So they had me do a screen test and I did. And he was happy. So I ended up doing Kickboxer. And here we go. There's right. But it was yeah, I mean, it was an honor. I was happy that's going to be my breakout film. I mean, but there's 2 folds to it, right? There's the one side of me that says, oh my God, I'm going to do Kickboxer. It's so cool. And it's like an awesome movie. And I love the story, all this kind of stuff, And the second part, knowing that, and then as any remake, I'm going to be completely directly compared to Van Damme. And that's exactly, and his fan base will be upset. Because that's what people do. They're just upset about, my star is no longer the star in that movie. Why? You shouldn't replace them. And then it becomes all about that and not about whatever I'm doing, So at the same time, though, I said, you know what? That's okay. I've accepted it. It's all good because my goal is to go in there and, give a fresh version of the story to a new audience. And that's how I'm going to approach it. I'm not trying to recreate what was done, the magic that was done that I love so much. I'm trying with the new team, with a new energy, to collaborate and create something new, something, fresh for today's audience, some fresh fights, a fresh fighting style, obviously, because let's just say that fighting in movies has changed a bit.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, right? So slightly updated, slightly. So as great as everything was in the 80s, obviously what we do today is so much, more.
So much ahead,
ahead of what they used to do, which is, and that's good. That's a good thing. It's normal, So, but I still take a lot of notes from when they did in the 80s and 90s, because I think that some of the great things they used to do in terms of storytelling has been forgotten. And that's what I try to take out from that and really incorporate in the action that we do, is also the storytelling behind it and a lot of the emotionality that you have in these fights that Van Damme was a master of. I study him because he's a master at bringing emotion into action, which is really cool, So, it was an honor to do and fun. Yep.
I was initially very hesitant and I was like, they're remaking Kickboxer. But when I saw the movie, I was like, I can get behind that. It's fresh. Trying to treat it as like a standalone movie on its own and something that's aimed at like a new audience, and it pretty much entertains, and that's what you want movies to do.
That's it, man. That's all I do. I do this all the time when we're on a set and people take themselves very seriously. I'm like, we're not curing cancer, unfortunately. But what we are doing, we're creating entertainment. We're having fun. We're creating entertainment for people, for them to have fun,
Oh, yeah.
So you can't take yourself too seriously. You have to try to do the best you can with what you have and just go out there and have a good time doing it and create some great entertainment. And hopefully somebody appreciates it. That's it.
Oh, yeah. That's like going to be your legacy at the end of the day, right? Like this is going to live long on after you.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Yeah, you want to do like the best job possible. Like it's going to be on celluloid or well,
That's it,
digital,
man.
whatever it is.
Once it's on film, it's on film for the rest of your life. That's it. It's done. You know, it's printed
Beyond your life.
beyond your life. And you're
Beyond your
absolutely
life.
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was an honor to do, man. And we had a blast. I was scared shitless before the first day. I remember having like almost like a panic attack, like not a full, because I don't really panic that much, but I had the moment where I was, oh my God, we're starting tomorrow. How am I going to do this? Like, oh my God. Then I looked at myself in the mirror. I said, listen, I actually talked to myself. I'm like, you're here for a reason. Dimitri asked you, and he wanted you because he believed in you. So suck it up and go out there and do your thing. And that was it. I slept well that night, got up the next morning. I was with Batista fighting. It was great. I had fun.
So you guys started off shooting with like the final fight scene.
That's where we started. Yeah, we had Batista for 4 days. That's it. We only had him for 4 days. Okay, and we had to start with the end fight, obviously, because it's the most important part of the movie. It's your third act, right?
Yeah.
So we started off with Batista, and what a gentleman! I cannot wait to work with Batista again because he is awesome. He's a great actor, and he's also just a fantastic human being. So we had fun. We had a good time.
That's amazing. So as a stuntman, you started your career as a stuntman and then transitioned into an actor. What are the qualities? Yeah, what are the qualities that kind of help you make that transition? Like, I'm pretty sure like resilience and like never taking no for an answer, because acting is a tough business and you get rejected like quite a lot. So you gotta 9 times down, 10 times up. So what else has helped you?
I attribute a lot of my success to martial arts and my philosophy with martial arts. I mean, obviously, you're used to setting these short-term goals and then long-term goals. And when you get beat down, you just, learn, and then you get back up and you go again and you improve. That's kind of what you say. So you either win or you learn. Yeah. That's a philosophy that I do follow. It's funny, Conor McGregor said it, but it's true. It's you either win or you learn. And when you learn, you just go back to the drawing board. You do something more, something different, and then you come back stronger and better and faster, and then you go at it again. And for me, I've always been the type when the way I react to opposition typically is I say, "Oh yeah, I'll prove you wrong." That's always been my thing. I'm somebody that says, "Yeah, you don't think I can do it? I'll prove you wrong because somebody else did it, so I can do it." And I will work myself to the bone to prove you wrong, and that's it. And I will find all the means necessary. So
that's all the motivation you need, right?
It's all the motivation I need. And I have parents that are amazing. They've always been hard workers, and they've always achieved and strive to achieve whatever they want. And they've always believed in me too. They always supported me. Those are two people that have never said, "Oh no, you're kidding yourself," right? Ever. They were also all the first people to say, "Go for it, do it." You can. They're always very, very supportive. So I think that helped a lot too, that you have people behind you, family that believes in you, and they think that you can actually achieve the things you strive to achieve. So that helped me a lot, I have to say. And I think having owned the business before, I owned the school, and when you own a business, it's you, and you have to survive. And the first 5 years where everybody expects you to fail, you have to show that you're not going to fail. So you have to have this certain belief in yourself that goes beyond your concern of what others think, way beyond that. So you just have to keep your head forward, take the proper advice from people that have done it before, and then use that and stand on the shoulders of giants and move forward. To me, that's what you need to do. And I had great mentors that taught me that. So I attribute a lot of my success or my mindset towards success to that. Brilliant.
It's pretty much like the tenacity to kind of hold on in the face of opposition and move forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? A no is just another opportunity to get a yes. You know what I mean? At the 100%. End, and I feel like if somebody said no, if a project didn't work out, I wasn't supposed to do it. It wasn't mine to do. It wasn't meant to begin with. Yeah. No, maybe it's the next one I was supposed to do. My first film did not work out, by the way. My first film never finished. My first film was called Wings. It was called Wings of the Dragon. That was the first one we were on, and so there was a financial debacle with the investor, and it shut down. And at that point, I had my starring role, and then after 3 weeks, got shot down. I felt like crap. I was like, "Oh my God, this opportunity will never come again." But you know what happened? Dimitri put me in Kickboxer instead of that movie. which had such a name behind it and a following and everything else. So you know what? In retrospect, I was much better off coming out in Kickboxer than I was in the first movie. So see, some things happen for a reason.
Exactly. And I read up somewhere that you kind of abide by this statement: always be prepared, always be ready.
Always, man, always be ready. Yeah. That's why I'm always training. I never stop. I'm always training, and I same with acting. I work with a coach, great coach. He's Jeff Seymour. He's awesome. And you know what? Even when I'm not preparing for a film, if I have time in between projects, I try to work with them because I just want to improve. I want to try to pick up something new for myself and to bring something new to the next project I'm going to be in. You know, as much on the physical side as it is on the acting side now, I really want to do that. So I think preparation allows you to, you know, when an opportunity comes up, you feel good about it. You feel, oh yeah, I can do this because you are prepared in advance. You don't start getting ready when the opportunity comes. It doesn't work that way. Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit more about working with an acting coach. Like, I mean, it's pretty important, even though you are an established actor. I mean, established actors, like, they still work with coaches. And like, how does that process work out? So let's say you sign on to star in a new movie.
Yep.
How do you break down that process? Like, you get the screenplay and then you go to an acting coach. Walk me through that.
Yeah. So usually, so let's say on jiu-jitsu, I had the script, and then when I knew we were starting to get ready, I sent the script to Jeff. He read it. We kind of talk about the character. We talk about the story and how the character evolves in the story. And that's kind of like that's what I like to see is what's the evolution, what's the arc, what's the roller coaster for this character, and how do we make him go from point A to point B, you know, and what happens in between that. And once we kind of really structure that, when that makes sense, then we start talking about each scene. And what I love about Jeff's approach, which connects with me, is that it's all about real life, you know. So for him, when you look at a scene, it's not trying to find, you know, acting tricks or whatever you may call it. Techniques is different, but I mean, like, it's more about, hey, if we look at the situation and we look at real life, how would you react to this in real life, and understanding what the emotions are and how people interact in real life based on these kind of situations. And the more you have an understanding of that, of people and humanity and emotions, the more when you get into that state, all of a sudden it just makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
It's like his example is always this. If I were to tell you I'm going to give you $1 million, if you're in a bar, I'll give you $1 million if you go convince that guy sitting over there that you're a circus artist. And I want you to convince him that you're a professional juggler. And that's your job. Trust me, by the end of that conversation, that guy would believe everything you say. He would think you're the best juggler in the world. And you've been that for 10 years because you want to make that $1 million. For some reason, you would have no problem doing that and convincing somebody and being somebody else in that moment because you know because you have something on the line, right?
Yeah.
So he says, how do humans all of a sudden have the ability to do that anytime they want, or have an argument with their wife, or have a beautiful celebration with their brother, and not have to think about their next reaction or their next words in the conversation? But as soon as you put a camera on them and you give them a few words, they're like, oh, well, how would I say this? Or how would I feel in that? I'm like, in real life, you never question the way you feel. You never question the things you say. You just do and say things, and they respond automatically. So if you can tune yourself, if you can be in tune with that and take somebody else's words and connect them to how you are in real life and how people are in real life, man, you're giving a lot of authenticity all the time, and you're working on real life cues, you know, which is really cool. So for me, that connects. So when we talk about a character, we break down a script, we talk a lot about life and how people react in life. And, you know, your daughter is sick in the movie. So what does that, I have a daughter. So how would I feel if my daughter all of a sudden had a heart condition and she was in the hospital and I couldn't do anything about it? And all of a sudden that connects with me. Oh my God, I understand what that means, you know? So these are the things we try to connect real life moments, emotions, situations to what's going on in our story. And then we act it out, you know, and learn it, we act it, we have fun with it, and we tune it. We give it some more color here, some less, a little more tone down there, and we just fine tune the rhythms, you know.
Gotcha.
So,
Do you think that anybody can act? Because something that I tell people is like, if you ever convinced somebody of a lie that, you tell somebody a lie at some point, everyone's done this, and someone else on the other side, on the receiving end, has believed it. So if you can lie, you can act. That's what I usually say.
Yeah, I think the difference is, can you act with somebody else's words or not? And that's the skill. That's a skill. That's a really absorbing words, remembering words. To me, it's like choreography. So fight choreography, I've done like a 3-minute fight, a 4-minute fight nonstop, because I can remember choreography to the point where I can forget it and just be there and do it like it's just coming out on its own, right? So it's like know it enough to forget it.
Yeah.
And to me, that's always how now that Jeff actually was really great, because that's kind of how he compared acting for me. It's like, well, when you for you, let's say you take the choreography, for you, then now for acting, that's the words. So you have to know the words so well that you can forget them, and then just be there and respond and listen and respond and that kind of stuff, right? So I think that if you're able to get there and remember the words and just take on somebody else's words and be connected to that, I think, most people can be trained to act, for sure. I think it's a skill like anything else, And by the way, just like anything else, some people are much better at it than others.
True. Very true.
Anybody can learn martial arts. Anybody can learn martial arts. Not everybody can be a world champion.
True.
Not everybody can apply it the same way or in the same timing, Not everybody has the same physical condition. Not everybody has the same physical use of makeup, or there's all these different things. You look at the Olympics right now, only one gold medalist, but there's a lot of great gymnasts. You know what I mean? Very true. Yeah. So I think acting, people can learn acting. Now, how skilled will you be at it? That who knows?
Fair enough. That lends like a whole different perspective to what I had. So that's amazing. Working with Bob Odenkirk in Nobody, I think this, you were telling me earlier that you got comments on Nobody like in the past few months.
Oh God, it hasn't stopped. It hasn't stopped, man. The director on C the other day, we were doing some fight stuff, and then he comes up and says, "Mr. Nobody," and I'm like, I know, it was a fun project. It was lots of fun. Bob Odenkirk was great, fantastic in that scene, fantastic in the movie. Honestly, he worked so hard for that role. 2 years, trained for 2 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and he's quite an inspiration. He's fun to work with, just the nicest guy, and he takes it seriously. And it's interesting. We had a conversation after that. We were asking, I think our stunt coordinator, Greg, was asking, what do you find, based on this role that you're doing, the difference? And he's like, you know what? Or do you find it's easier or harder than other things you've done? He's like, this is the hardest thing I've done. The genre like this, action, this is like way harder than, other stuff I've done where there's no physicality. This is like, holy crap, man, you kill yourself all day, and not only do you have to remember moves, you have to act in the moves and all that kind of, like, this is really, I have a new level of respect for people who do action movies, because it's so hard. And I think he succeeded to the highest level. It's really, he did such a fantastic
100%.
job.
Yeah. Like the moment we saw that trailer, like me and my friends were like, holy shit, this is something we gotta see on the big screen. But unfortunately, you had the pandemic, but still, even on home viewing, it was crazy seeing him do all that. Yeah,
and it was cool. When all the advertisement came out and that bottle break on my head, it was like in everything and everywhere. That train scene was the cool. Like, to me, it was my favorite part of the movie. Is one of the best action pieces. Yeah, and I think that's what came out in a lot of the reviews. But they used that bottle break on my head everywhere. Like, oh
not just every trailer, in every single teaser, like every 30-second footage, you see that there.
Yeah, I know. All my friends started like, "Oh my God, we just saw." They were watching the UFC. It's like, Alain, we just saw a bottle break on your head on the UFC. I'm like, really? Like, yeah, they're playing Nobody. So,
and you were working with Daniel Bernhardt, who happened to be coincidentally,
he's fantastic. He's such a nice guy. He's so skilled and just the coolest dude. Yeah, enjoyed it, man. We were just working with great people on that show, and it was produced by David Leitch, who obviously is one of the top action directors today. And he's another gem.
Deadpool,
he's really cool. Yeah,
Deadpool,
man.
John Wick, amazing guy.
So maybe one day I get directed by him. You never know. That would be awesome.
Looking forward to that.
Definitely, that's on my bucket list.
Hope you get to tick it off sooner rather than later.
Same here. Trust me. I'm still young. Yeah.
So you work as a fight coordinator as well, and when let's say like the director comes up to you with the fight scene and tells you, all right, this is what we want. How do you start breaking things down? And like you mentioned before, the storytelling aspect, it's kind of lost nowadays. Like they had it like really well in the 80s, 90s, but bringing that in, how do you, as a martial artist, as a fight coordinator, how do you integrate all the storytelling into the choreography?
Well, number one, I make sure I have a good understanding of the story and the characters. That's number one for me. I really want a good understanding of, and especially where the characters are in their arc based on where, on where the story is. And then obviously you have the vision of the director, you have the style that they want and everything else. And then once we have that, say, okay, well, this fight scene, the fight scene tells a story, just like any other scene in a movie. You tell a story through the action. Where are we trying to go with the story? What are the story beats and what are the important story points that we're trying to tell within this piece of action? How do the characters evolve? And we ask ourselves all these questions. Ryan and I, we discuss this all the time, and we're like, okay, so what's the character arc for Jason's character in this fight? Where is he going? What needs to happen in the story? So now we have, okay, well, within this fight, that's whatever. Let's say it's 30 beats. We need 3 significant crescendo moments where we see him evolve and then build up to something. So then we find these moments. What are these moments? What is it? A move? Is it a story point? Is it one of the kills, or is it what is it? So we establish what those are first. So we know we want one here, one there, one there. And once that's done, then we start filling in the middle and making our story arc that builds to those moments. And that's why, like, for me, the punches and the kicks that are in there are the last thing I work with. I work with the story first. I work with the arc first. I work with, those crescendo moments. What are we building up to first? And then to get all those sorted out. Once that's all sorted out, then, only then, we're like, okay, now let's go pop, 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 pop. Or is it pop, pop, whoop, whoop, pop, boom. Then we get into the beats. And then we make sure that we build to those moments. And then this way, those moments are very significant to the audience. When you have, what I find is sometimes the goal is to put as many cool moves as possible into a scene. What happens when everything's cool, nothing's cool.
True.
When it's true. Like everything. If you're here, like that's nothing. It's like you need beats. You need that boom, 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 bam, 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 boom. And then every song is like that. You build, you go down, you go up, you go down. Jazz, it's like you need that arc. You need to have those highs and the lows, and not everything.
You need the rhythm.
You need the rhythm, and you need to certain things to just be beats, and other things to be super punchy and significant, so they stand out from everything else. 100%. And we try to really create those moments that stand out. That's what I do in my films. I'm always looking for what are the stand out moments. Why will the audience react to this moment? I try to find those and then build to those, as opposed to try to make everything the most impressive thing in the world, because then it numbs the audience, I find.
True. It becomes very monotonous.
Totally. And then all you see click, clack, boom, 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 bam, 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 and then it's over, moving on. Jackie Chan actually was a master of that. Because he used the environment, he changed his rhythms. It's one thing. There's comedy. You laugh. You're like, whoa, shit, he's gonna be okay. Like, you have all these emotions happening within this fight. Although, what you're seeing is punch, kick, boom, duck under, boom, hit this. To me, that moment was the significant moment. You forgot about all the punches and the kicks, but you saw kink, and then oh shit, that's what you remember. And I that's what I try to do when we have these we break down these scenes, is we want to find what are the moments that are going to be remembered when we see the scene. What's the audience going to respond to when they see the scene? So that's kind of how I break it down.
True. And what bugs me sometimes is, like, you have the performers putting in like 100%, like even into the story, and sometimes some of it like gets lost in the editing room. So
of course.
Yeah, it's such a tragedy. That's the real tragedy.
Well, it depends how they shoot it. It depends, like, it goes from from conception to choreography to shooting it on set to an editor who, and editors, I mean, I don't blame them. They don't know martial arts. Most editors don't know a punch from a kick. So it's like, it's an exaggeration, but at the same time, it's like, because I've seen that before. I'm like, well, why'd you choose this take and not this take?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. The composition there was better. I'm like, yeah, but don't you see that the movie's better here than there? Like, it's really like the performance in terms of the movie is better here than there. And they'd be like, isn't it the same? And I'm like, oh. At that point, I don't even blame the person. That I know that they don't know what they're looking at, and that's okay. So that's why if you get somebody who understands action to edit action, all of a sudden you're really hitting those marks, and you have a director that really knows where he wants his close-ups and all that kind of stuff as well. Then you have better chances of hitting every mark. You'll see the choreography, you'll see the fight, it'll be well shot, and all of a sudden you'll get the emotionality of the scene as well, which is what you want.
Yeah. How often do you end up in the editing room, like contributing to the final cut?
Oh, for my films, I all the time. I have
all the time. Okay.
Yeah. Kickboxer Retaliation. I did a lot of the editing. Dimitri always has his takes, and he knows what he wants. He's very specific about what the things he wants, but he gives me a lot of collaborative leeway to go in there and pick the right shots and the right composition from one shot to the next to get to where he wants to be. And then what he does, he takes a lot of like my fight beats and things I've chosen, and he puts all his story beats and edits all the story in there, make sure that it follows an arc that he wants, right? So I've had my hand in a lot of things in Kickboxer, actually, tons. And in my next movies, that definitely will too. Yeah.
That's pretty liberating as an artist, right? I mean, you
is.
Contribute your full package to the entire project. So.
Well, when you have the chance to work with great collaborators, I mean, that's a blessing, right? Not everybody's like that, and I'm blessed to have worked with Dimitri and become good friends with him, and we collaborate together on a project, and that's not always the case. Actually, my next film that I'm working on now, same thing. The team is amazing. It's amazing collaborators. So because we've been in it, and whether it's the script, vision for the action, everything. It's they're always wanting opinions and collaboration, as opposed to just say, hey, show up on the day, do your thing, and get out.
Yeah.
So it's cool when you get a chance to work with good collaborators.
So the next movie you're working on, is it with Dimitri again, or is it?
No, it's a movie called King of Killers, and it's with Kevin Grievous. Kevin Grievous is the co-creator of Underworld, the Underworld series.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So Kevin's directing is this directorial debut, and he's launching a brand new franchise called King of Killers. So
nice.
It's a very, very cool project. I'm working with the team at Creative Tank, which is Shane Walker and Angel Gracia. They're producers, and I'm also working with Eclipse International is the one doing all the sales for the movie. But anyways, all this to say that it's a very cool assassin movie. Can't wait to shoot it. We're shooting that early next year. So we're kind of in that pre-production now already. This is great.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And something that's been making rounds around the internet is fans wanting to cast you as Johnny Cage in the next Mortal Kombat.
I hope that the producers, Todd Garner, if you're listening, Todd Garner. I would love nothing more than that. It'd be amazing, And I from the beginning, as soon as I heard about Mortal Kombat, I'm like, I'm Johnny Cage. I want to be Johnny Cage. I want that. I would love an opportunity to play Johnny Cage, or even to test for it. I don't care, because I am Johnny Cage. That's it. I like it, like people aren't saying it just because it's not just a question. Okay, I look a little the part or whatever. I think that even my fighting style and the things I bring to the screen are very Johnny Cage. And I think I would be great for that role, and I would love to bring it to life. However, it may not happen. As you know, it's Hollywood. And it may go to a much bigger name than me, but that's okay. It's if I get an opportunity, it'd be great. I feel quite grateful for the audience to actually even consider me for that. It's cool for people to voice that opinion online. It's fun.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Johnny Cage was based on Van Damme, and you grew up idolizing him. So
that's right.
I mean, if you do at least even get screen test, kind of comes full circle. So really hope you get to.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. At least just
you never know. You never know what may happen in the future. So I keep my eye on the prize, and I keep always I keep thinking, okay, well, it may happen. You never know. Stay positive about it. and maybe I'll attract it to my life. You know, that'd be great.
100%. And if that does happen, I'm gonna get you back on the show because I'm gonna tell everyone like Johnny Cage was on the show before he became Johnny Cage, yo.
There you go. That'd be amazing. That'd be amazing. Did you like the new Mortal Kombat?
I enjoyed it for integrating like the elements from before the tournament, and I'm really excited to see what they do with part 2.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I love the backstory on Scorpion and Sub-Zero. I thought that was
that was like my favorite part.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I love that. And I think Louis Tan did an amazing job. I think he did really well as Cole, and it's brand new characters. Again, it's hard to step into those shoes, man. I know how it is, so it's hard, and I think he did a phenomenal job doing it.
Yeah. He did a really good job, yeah. And Joe Taslim was in it, and
oh man, Joe is incredible. I sent him a message after that. I'm like, dude, you just rocked it. It was awesome. So he's really becoming a force to be reckoned with. Really great.
100%. And before we wrap up, I want to talk a little bit about jiu-jitsu. So star-studded cast, Tony Jaa, Nicolas Cage. What was that like, man?
You know, you pinch yourself. You get on set, you walk on set, and you pinch yourself. You're like, what is going? Like, am I dreaming or is this reality? Jiu-jitsu was one of the best filmmaking experiences I've ever had in my life. It was both on the creative side and on just on an educational side about filmmaking. You know, so I learned so much about the ups and downs because I was involved with Dimitri from the get-go, and I knew, you know, I now know how hard it is to put a film together and to bring it all together and get all this cast kind of in the same place and work with schedules and, you know, going from schedules with, you know, 30 days to 25 days, and then what do we do with that? So that part of it, I learned a lot about filmmaking because I was aware of what was going on. So thank you to Dimitri because I had learned so much. And then on the creative side as well, being on set with Nicolas Cage, that was 1 week with me and him nonstop. And I have to say, just working with him, you get to absorb some of that awesomeness from Nick. You know, he's a fantastic actor. And now, you know, what I do, I guess what I admired the most from my experience working with him was the fact that he's still passionate about what he does. He loves acting. He enjoys going to set. He shows up. He knows his stuff, and he collaborates. He comes in and says, "Hey, Alain, can we run this scene? Cool. What do you think? What do you think of it?" He doesn't have to ask me what I think. He's Nicolas Cage. I show up. I'll follow suit type thing. I'm the rookie. You're the veteran. But no, that's not how he sees it. He comes in and he's willing to work. He wants to work with everybody there. He sees everybody as his collaborators, and he goes for it. You know,
that's amazing, man.
He gets a note from the director. He's like, "Oh, cool. Oh, yeah, okay," and then he goes for it. It's refreshing. It's very refreshing to see something like that especially from a veteran like him, you know, and such a legend. So it was a pleasure to work with them, and same with the entire cast. Tony, like I've been watching Tony for such a long time, and again, the nicest guy, and I got to perform a full fight with them and have like at his side, you know, collaborating and moving forward with them and in the same team. So that was cool, and to see him work that way.
Yeah. We actually have one question here. Did you ever get seriously hurt? I'm pretty sure this is like it's an occupational hazard.
No, I've been lucky, man. I have never had a major injury on a set. It's never happened. I've had sprains and strains and that kind of stuff, my knees, ankles, but never. Oh, actually, I was going to say no. I think that's it. I've never had the like super big injury. I've fallen hard, but never anything too serious. Yeah.
Well, fingers crossed, and hope it stays that way, man.
Absolutely, same. I'm safe. I try to keep it as safe as possible. So it's I want to stay healthy for as long as possible.
And land on your feet always like a cat.
You got it. Exactly.
Alain, thank you so much for joining us, our future Mr. Johnny Cage. This has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining. And till then, this is Junkyard Theory, folks.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course, a pleasure.